Let's talk a little bit about this matchup with Maryland. What specific game plans or individual matchups do you think are going to be the most critical for the Gators to exploit or defend?
Well, you got to make Derek Queen run. You've got to make him run. I mean, I think that's a big thing. Make him run, then put him in ball screens. You want to make him defend. So I think the first thing you got to do, Chinulu, he's got to do a good job running, which he does a great job of, sealing in the basket area, trying to maybe even get him in foul trouble. You get him in foul trouble, it's a different game. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. They're not going to play through Chinulu. I mean, that's not going to, but they can put him in ball screens and have him as a rim runner. They can put him in the dunker spot, have him close off. He can be in positions where he long rolls and tries to catch it, maybe shot fakes and steps through. So that's the first thing. You got to defensively, you got to guard and contain Jacoby Gillespie. The ball's going to be in his hands. They're five guys. They're Cram Five. I mean, that's who they call themselves. That's basically their heart. They have one or two guys that they bring off the bench that impact the game or energy givers, but it's those five guys that average double figures. But the guy that starts it all is Jacoby Gillespie. So again, that's another guy you got to make guard. You got to screen him, kind of wear him out. But people don't understand. You screen a guy a bunch, whether it's on or off the ball. Right, those constant hits, if you're a good screening team, bother you. You got to make the game go up and down, wear them down. Those guys at the pace that and the force that Florida plays at, you want to make those guys change ends because you can wear them down when you guys get into your bench. They don't have a bench to get into. So I think containing Gillespie, especially late game, he just makes plays. Forcing Queen to defend and running him, I think is really important. And that Shelton Miguel's the one kid. He has a little bit of Elijah Martin in him. I think you got to match his toughness. I think he brings a toughness to this Maryland team that is a little bit different. So those are the three things that I'm sure, amongst other things, that they will focus on. And then don't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
It's really important. You can't, like against the pressure, when they change defenses, all those things, you got to be rock solid. You can't, because you don't want to give them easy baskets. If you're setting your defense, which means don't turn it over, take good shots so you can set your defense. If you're doing those things, I think Florida's in pretty good shape.
So UF didn't look amazing against Yukon. And I'm one of those people that believes that great teams have bad games sometimes. And what makes them great is that they're able to still overcome and win. And I think that that's what we saw. But was there anything that you watched on Sunday that gave you cause for concern?
Not really. I mean, you're going to have one of those games. Like when I was in Virginia, we went to the Final Four. We had two of those games, and we were a good team. I mean, we almost lost to Iona. I mean, Rory Gaines, I remember he almost went full court at the end of the game to beat us. And then we played Indiana to go to the Final Four, and came from behind. We had to make a steal at the end of the game, go and went to the floor to finish it. So you're going to look, NCAA tournament. You're playing the two-time national champion.
Yeah.
They have a championship pedigree. They got a brilliant savant coach. They own the tempo of the game to some extent. They made Florida defend deep into the clock. They took care of the basketball. They didn't turn it over so they could set their defense. And, those are the things that the art of the upset. Own the tempo and rhythm of the game. Take away the other team's best players, which they did until the last 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Have someone step up and make a play, which they had some guys. But so you're going to play close games. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, look at this. Everyone's talking about no mid majors in the Sweet 16, but look at the matchups. I got them right here. There's not a bad matchup in the Sweet 16. I mean, it's right down. Duke, Arizona, BYU, Alabama. That's going to be an explosive game. Houston, Purdue, a team that was in the final game last year, a Final Four pedigree team in Houston. Kentucky, Tennessee. Kentucky's beaten Tennessee twice. I mean, Auburn, Michigan, with the 2 7-footers. I mean, you go right down. We have great games. So you're going to play good teams. You're going to have to play well. I just think that the margin of error for Florida is far greater. And they handled that tough situation. Excuse me. They handled a time and score game. That should give them great confidence. Like, everyone says, well, Duke, they haven't been in a close game. How are they going to respond? I mean, they're really good. You would suspect that they, Tyrese Proctor's playing well. He's an upperclassman. They got some upperclassmen through the transfer portal, but Florida's poised, and they were poised with the back against the wall, playing against a team that has a grit and a championship pedigree that is really well coached, and they made some things happen. The missed layup by Carabin was rough for for Connecticut, but they made things happen. And when your best players at the end of a game wants the ball to make a play, even though, I mean, I was literally on the phone with Jay Williams while we were watching the middle of the first half. I'm saying, Jay, like Clayton doesn't look like he's right. He looks like he's sick or whatever. He's a step behind. There's no force in his game.
Yeah.
And then about 3 minutes later, I text him, never mind.
Never mind.
So I mean, like when the game was on the line, making those plays, and they were hard NBA contested shots. That's why I think I think he's a lottery pick, and I think that he's one of the toughest players left in the tournament. And I think the other thing is when we were there for game day, very rare, especially in the world of college basketball today, you have players on a team like they're coming up. Those kids were coming up to us and thanking us, and that was pretty cool because most times guys take it for granted.
Mhm.
And I thought that was really, they were very open and welcoming the players and just talking to them, after practice. And I thought that you know, the way they carried themselves, it wasn't expectation, it wasn't entitlement, it was appreciation. But then they know what they have to do when they get on the court.
Guys, if you are jacked for the Sweet 16 like I am, make sure you are fully outfitted in Gator Gear. No better place to stock up than Alumni Hall. They have the largest and the best selection of Gator Gear for hoops, and you can find top brands like Nike, Jordan, Peter Millar, and more. You can shop their selection on Archer Road in Gainesville, or if you're not in Gainesville, just head to alumnihall.com. Order right now so that you can have your gear before the NCAA tournament's over. Also, make sure you're following them on social media to stay up to date on their latest deals, offers, and discounts. We appreciate Alumni Hall for their support, and I hope you do too. Well, hopefully they are going to take care of business, but let's talk big picture for a second. The SEC has been really strong this season.
Crazy.
How do you rate the conference's overall performance in the tournament so far?
7 out of the 16. I mean, it's pretty good. The 10 seed, made it to the Sweet 16, beat a 2 seed. Uh, really impressive. I mean, uh, to me, and I said this, especially now that Sean Miller's been hired at Texas, this is not an anomaly. This is not a one off. All right. Your investment equals your expectation. And what the SEC has done differently from the ACC, in a similar way, maybe to the Big 12, not to that extent. The Big 12 hasn't invested the same way. But look, I mean, the SEC said when Mike Slive was alive and the commissioner, said, we're going to be good at basketball. And then obviously, Commissioner Sankey has continued to preach those messages. What does that mean? It means infrastructure. It means hiring the right coaches. It means facilities, and it means NIL. I mean, it's plain and simple. But the SEC's made a commitment across the board, whether it's women's basketball, football, gymnastics, golf, baseball. I mean, we were there for the baseball game. I was blown away. There was a baseball game, a softball game. We were having college game day the next day, and all of them were packed. And that's a reflection of what the SEC stands for. I mean, we joke about the cash line just means more. I think it means more investing. Your investment equals your expectation. Like the ACC has had a lot of coaches making coaching changes, and that's great. But if you don't give those coaches the resources, you're just going to make another coaching change 4 years later. I think the SEC's hired world-class coaches and giving them the resources. So getting those 14 teams in, I don't think that's going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to happen because these programs are going to have the resources to recruit. You're going to have guys that understand how to put guys in position to play to their strengths. They're going to beat the crap out of each other in league, and everyone said, "Well, we're going to make it. We have to the NCAA tournament. They're so physical. The way the game's officiated." Now they say, "Well, they beat each other up. They're just wearing each other." No, no. This thing is built to last. Now it'll make decisions like the ACC. What are you going to do? You got one team left. Now, I got to believe the ACC is going to invest. They just hired Will Wade. They hired Ryan Odom. Now, hiring those coaches, if you're not giving the resources, you're just wasting your time. So, I can't see a scenario where the SEC takes serious steps back because of the investments they made.
All right, Coach, you still picking UF to win it all?
I've got the Gators to win it all. 3 days of watching them practice. I say it all the time. It's the pace. It's the force that they play with. It's the freedom that they play with. It's the confidence that they play with, and they wear people down with their depth. So, look, there's no guarantees, but to me, I've seen all the best teams in the country, whether it's been a practice at all over the country in the fall, and obviously with our traveling for game day, and they've been the most impressive team for me in terms of as a coach trying to scout them and say, all right, what would I give? What would I take away? Uh, there's just a lot of conundrums. There's a lot of problems. You take away this, then they can do this. You take away the guards, and then Con and Houck go off. You get one guy in foul trouble, and Aberdeen knocks down a corner jumper. They've just got a lot of answers to the questions.
Definitely have a lot of riches. Well, Coach, I appreciate your time. This was awesome. And we'll be sure to be watching you on ESPN as these games continue.
Thanks for having me. Stay well. Make sure you say hello to your family.
I will. Please tell Karen I said hello.
That's a deal. Thanks.